Hey everyone, I wanted to talk about the ultimate paradox, but also the ultimate source of transformation and renewal and peace and freedom, which comes from the understanding of no free will. Essentially, it's the freedom of recognizing, understanding that there is no free will, not in ourselves and not in another. And this goes against everything that the mind is saying, because the mind is set up to believe it's in control of everything. It believes it's the thing deciding all the behaviors. It's saying these words now. That's what it thinks. And so it puts on others that they are similarly, that there is a self in there somewhere deciding what words to say, deciding what actions to do. But when we consider that all words, all actions are being chosen, yeah, but being chosen by a system, a unit, some people, a robot, whatever, a program, they're being chosen by the system, by the learning, by the conditioning, by the understanding of what's real, of what's true. There isn't a self choosing any action. And it looks like we're choosing, but really the fact that that choice is there is a product of conditioning. Whichever preference is there is a product of conditioning. There is no independent choice ever. And that alone will take us all a lifetime to get still with. That's fine. That's why we're here. And when that starts to become clear, something really magical happens, is that the mind, instead of being lost in this narrative of blame and self-blame, of victim and villain, of this is personal, of identification with its own, the actions here and the actions of others. Instead of that, which is futile, isn't it? It looks so true, but it's just a made up concept of self that believes it's the thing doing all this. And so instead of being lost in that chaotic narrative, the mind can come out, settle, become present, watchful, and can actually then witness the behaviors, witness the words from the understanding that they're not personal. There's no self doing it. From the understanding that they're the only words that can be said in that moment. And this is magical then, because then there starts to become an impersonal accountability for everything that is being said and done here. That's it. And that's the sphere. That's the only sphere of any sort of reference really that we have, is that words are said, behaviors are done, and they're observed. And what are those words and behaviors saying? Because really they're being observed for the first time. The system produces them out of the dark, really. Like words, where do they originate? They originate from firing of synapses, and then there they are. No one's seen them until they're out, and then the mind actually witnesses them. This is amazing. So instead of the mind believing it's saying the words, which how can it be? There's just this presence to them. And then they're seen like, whoa, what are those words revealing about what's being believed, about the conditioned system, about what has to be defended or protected, about the anger, about the fear. It reveals it all, but it can only reveal it from this witnessing space. When the mind is it's lost in it. It becomes it's lost. It's just lost in the narrative. There's no space for observation, and because the words, the actions are so seen as so personal and so justified within the story of the self, they have to be defended, protected, because they're me. The words are me, aren't they? The behavior is me, my behavior. But when we lose that, when that goes, then there's just the watching of the behavior, the watching of the words, the listening. And that's where it all changes. So then we stop trying to change other people. We realize that their behavior is the product of their conditioning, just as ours is. And if anyone is going to show how conditioning can change, it has to start here. This is where centuries of conditioning, centuries of belief, centuries of programming, of this is how things are, this is what they are, this is what you are, that ends here with us. And it ends in that shift from the personalized, identified mind to the watching space in which our behavior, our words are seen. And in that seeing, they become transparent. The motivation for them becomes transparent. The learning that gave rise to them becomes transparent. And that's where it can change, because it's not personal, because there's no idea of self. There's no, really, because our existence isn't caught up in believing that we live or die according to how we're received, how what people think of us. Instead, the mind settles into the truth of our existence, which is this infinite intelligence that we are, and that's where change happens, and that is freedom. And that's the irony, that's the paradox, is that we've been looking for freedom in the idea of free will. We've been thinking, I'll be free when I make the right choices, when I do XYZ, when I have XYZ, when I am XYZ, then I'll be free. And this is saying, no, freedom, true freedom, i.e. true release from the program, from the conditioned belief, is only possible when that program is seen for what it is, when there's a step outside it. So we're not in it, identified anymore, we're watching it, which is us, that awareness, that presence, unidentified, just witnessing. And that's freedom. That's where everything changes. And as our behavior changes, as our conditioning changes, so the world changes, because the world is perceived and held in our own conditioned perceptions. And as that changes, everything does. Yeah. Thank you. Lots of love. Bye.